Thank you so much for that introduction, Lucas, and thank you, Samir, for that wonderful story. I too had to choose between an MFA and a PhD, and I chose the PhD. So I feel your journey, and I feel your choice completely, except mine was in psychology. So not even literature. I went in an entirely different direction, deciding to tackle the human brain from a different angle. And I think literature and psychology are the two ways to go if you're interested in the human mind and its inner workings. So when I got the invitation to speak today and heard that the theme was, are we there yet? My first inclination was, of course, I've just written this book about poker, about starting from zero, from not knowing anything, not knowing how many cards were in a deck, and entering this new world. And the whole book is a journey. The whole book is about me asking myself, are we there yet? Have I learned enough? Has poker taught me what I wanted it to teach me, which was to learn this difference, as Lucas alluded to, between skill and chance, between the things we control and the things we don't control, between luck and our actions and the things that are actually within us. And I thought, well, of course, this is going to be what I'm talking about. And then I realized that actually, no, it isn't. It's not what I'm going to be talking about at all. Well, in a way it is, but I'm going to be getting at it from a very different angle. Because when I actually stopped to think about it, I understood that what came to my mind when I imagined, are we there yet, wasn't my own journey, but an interaction that I kept having throughout the course of the journey with someone very close to me and near and dear to my heart, my grandmother. And it's funny, this book came out a few weeks ago, and people have had different reactions to it, different reactions to all parts of it. Different people have responded to different parts. But there's been one universal. Everyone who's written to me has said, there was a chapter where you start with your grandmother, Baba Anya, and she really spoke to me. I could see myself in her. I could see my own family in her. And I realized that in some ways she was a double protagonist of this book. This book wasn't just about me. It was about her as a foil and as someone who kept asking me and kept challenging me, are we there yet? And so today, I actually want to talk about her and talk about the relationship that we've built throughout the course of my journey into the world of poker. So let me begin by introducing her. And by the way, she's listened in on a lot of my virtual events. I have no idea if she's listening tonight, but maybe she is, in which case I'm very grateful, and I hope that she knows that I love her very much. So she is one of the strongest people I know. She was born, as I was, in the Soviet Union. And unlike me, though, she lived through the entire thing. I mean, she lived through Stalin, she lived through Khrushchev, she lived through Brezhnev. She was there through it all. And she was a teacher. And so she was thrilled when I decided to get a PhD. She thought, this is wonderful. Now, my granddaughter is going to go into academia. She is going to have a worthy career. She is going to be a professor. This is why we came to the United States. This is why we came to this country. And she was so proud of me. She was so supportive and so glad that I was getting a PhD. And throughout all of my endeavors, she was always just cheering me along and so glad I was doing what I was doing. So I was absolutely thrilled to come home to Boston, which is where I grew up after coming from Moscow. And I came home a few years ago to share what my next book was going to be about. So I'd gone through a period of time in my life that wasn't the most pleasant thing in the world. I had health issues. My other grandmother had just died in a tragic, very freak accident. A lot of people in my family had lost their jobs, and I really started wondering about the role that luck plays in our lives. and realizing just how strong of a force it was and how much we take for granted when things are going our way, and how much we don't realize that luck is a huge factor in our success and everything that happens until it goes against us. And I'd wanted a way into this topic and had decided, I won't bore you with the details, but I decided that my way in was actually going to be the game of poker. I'd never played poker before, and I thought, I'm going to get someone to teach me. I'm going to learn this game, and I'm going to use poker as a metaphor for life, for exploring this balance of skill and chance, for trying to figure out, how do I metabolize luck? How do I actually deal with everything and figure out the limits of my own control and where that ends and where chance and luck begins? And so I went home to Boston, and I was really excited to tell my whole family about my next project. And my parents were really excited. They thought this was the coolest thing in the world. They thought, wow, you're going to learn poker. This is awesome. You go. This is great. And then I talked to Baba Anya, and I told her about what I was going to be doing. And I was so excited, and I was so glad to share this with her. And I saw her face, and she just had the most crestfallen, disappointed look on her face, as if I was breaking her heart physically. And she looked at me and she said, Masha, which is my name in Russian, you're going to be a gambler? And I just saw all of these hopes and dreams just crushed. Your granddaughter, she has a degree from Harvard, a PhD from Columbia. She's going to be a professor, and she wants to be a gambler. And I just saw these visions of ruin in her eyes, that she just thought that I was selling my soul to the devil, that I was going to be, completely, lost in this sea of vice, that I was doing something so incredibly horrible that she didn't even know how to stop me, but that she really needed to do everything she could to try. And so I spent a good hour trying to convince her that actually that's not at all what I was doing. I'm not going to go play craps or roulette or anything like that, Grandma. I said, I'm going to play poker. And poker is a game of skill. It's a game of trying to figure people out. I came to it from game theory. I told her all about John von Neumann and how he was inspired by poker, and how one of the great economic theories of the 20th century was inspired by poker. And she was listening to me, and she was having none of it. She would just kept shaking her head and saying, you're lost. I don't know what to do. This is absolutely terrible. And so I kept going. I said, well, did you know that Immanuel Kant believed that poker was a way to get people to calibrate their certainty in things, that he himself was a player, that he wanted to be actually a professional gambler, not just a poker player. And he failed at that, so he became a philosopher. So there's some lesson to be had in that. And after an hour or so, she just shook her head and said, well, if you're going to play a game, why couldn't you have at least played chess? Because chess is obviously a nice game for a good Russian girl to learn. And so I vowed at that point that I was going to do this for her as much as for me, that I was going to show her that I was doing something worthwhile, that you didn't have to be a professor to actually make something of your life, that even though I was doing something so crazy, that this was going to be a journey worth taking and a destination worth getting to, that poker was actually going to teach me something important about being human, about living my life, about making better decisions, being a better person. And so that became a secondary goal to me. It was no longer just about writing the best book I could. It was also about proving myself to Baba Anya and showing her that I wasn't throwing my life away, that this was actually going to be a journey that had a strong payoff at the end, and that was going to teach me and make me better, and hopefully make other people better as a result. And so as I embarked on this journey, I would check in every so often. Unfortunately, as I got swept into professional poker, I didn't see my family nearly as much as I wanted to, because I was traveling all the time. I was in tournaments, I was in Vegas, I was in Monte Carlo, I was in Macau. I was all over the world learning this game, becoming good at this game. And every single time that I had a big win or some big hallmark in my life, and I could report back to my family. I'd report back to Baba Anya as well. And everything that to me was something to celebrate and kind of a new trophy to hold on to was for her an opportunity to ask, are we there yet? Are you done with poker yet? Can you get on with your real life of being a professor and giving lectures and teaching people and going into academia and doing all these things? And so I realized that it was never going to be quite enough. Every victory, I won an international championship, and I came home and I was so excited. I said, I have a major international title. I have a sponsorship from PokerStars. I'm going to be a real poker pro. And she said, great. Are we there yet? Are we done? Will you write your book and stop playing poker? When will you finally stop playing poker? And so I actually am talking to you right now from Brooklyn, but 3 days ago, I was actually in New Jersey in an Airbnb. And the reason I was there was I had decamped to New Jersey for 2 weeks to play the World Series of Poker online. My book has already come out, and theoretically we should have been there yet. And we should have been there already a long time ago, because I wrote the book, I reached my goals, I reached more than my goals, and poker has really taught me a lot. And yet my destination keeps changing. And so here I am, still playing poker and still writing and still doing all these things. Back in February, before COVID hit full on and we were unable to see people anymore, I was able to see Baba Anya one last time for her 95th birthday. We got it in just under the wire. And I had a conversation with her, and she knew my book was done. And for once, she actually didn't say, are we there yet? She said, I'm proud of you. I feel like I finally understand what you were doing, that poker has opened your mind, has made you stronger, has made you a better decision maker, and has been a worthwhile goal. And to me, that was everything. That conversation just made me so happy that she finally understood what I was doing, and for once didn't say, you're a gambler, said, I get it. I think that I know what you're doing and I'm proud of you. And so maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I'll never be there. And I don't think we're ever there. And I don't think we ever really know what there is, because there keeps changing, and what we want and who we are keeps changing. And that's something that poker has taught me to accept. And clearly, it's somehow seeped into the people around me, because I think that Baba Anya has finally accepted it as well. And so I think that not knowing what the destination is and being willing to constantly adjust and not knowing if we'll ever be there and just being willing to keep going no matter what, I think that's truly a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for listening.